North Carolina. They have very good people. I also believe that it's the task of the Tea Party movement to stop him and let him prove that he is born in the United States and and is eligible to be President of the United States. Now, I think that Germany went down because of godlessness.
That's right.
Yes.
There is no way around it. I had to face myself with the eyes of God. It was absolutely terrible what I saw. I was 23 or 24 years ago. And how I ever could think that I was a Christian was absolutely ridiculous. And so that is at the heart of what I'm saying. Everybody needs to be on the same track, but as you do as is done in the Tea Party movement, everyone and every group for itself, so to speak, but with a front which is all over the country. I think the ideological age in which we're living, I think, is about the role of God in human society. Because if you look at Obama, the first thing he does, becoming a president, is to make export of homosexual medicines or money out of the country. They are out to destroy God, and it is a battle between God and the godless. And we stand for God, and if we don't stand for God and stand up, we are no worse to be called Christians. Now, I could go on for a long time, but I don't think that would be the right thing. But what I know, I have all my stories, and I could write 10 more books with stories. I have, for everything is in. My favorite chapter is the confusion of the Christians, because there you can see what I think about how we are supposed to think and to live, and how to get effective in front of an illegal, nearly I would say, government.
Yeah.
And this is a book. And
Excellent book, Elmer.
what's that?
Excellent book.
He says it's an excellent book. He has read it. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Quite a story, quite a life. Next we've got Professor Chuck Holmes, former B-52 pilot, and 20 years of professing economics. He's going to take a few minutes to talk about his book.
Thank you, Gene. Yeah, I spent 20 years in the Air Force, during which I accumulated 7,000 plus flying hours and 236 combat missions over Vietnam. So I wasn't very smart at that time. After that, I taught economics at the University of Central Georgia for 20 years. We heard this morning about the three evils, the three lies. One was political correctness. Well, that's what this is. During all that time, I think about everything there is about political correctness. And about 10 years ago, I was sitting in my office and started thinking, what would the economy be like when the PC people take over? So I sat down and wrote a few ideas, which became the manifesto of political correct economics. 10 years ago, I said things like, all economically oppressed humans have the basic right of home ownership, whether they can afford it or not. That's what got us into this problem today. I also said only when the United States healthcare delivery system is administered with the reliability and efficiency of the United States Postal Service will help be affordable and available to all.
Hey, what'd
You know,
say
I
the name of that
wrote this 10 years ago. These
street
things
is
that I
again?
did like a lot of authors did. I made out a draft and put it up and came back to it, worked on it for a while, and finally sent it off to 3 publishers. Amazingly, one of them bought it. That's very unusual. You usually have to go about 20 or 30. But anyhow, it's called Politically Correct Economics. It's not about Obama. Obama is about this book. Because I said a lot of things I thought were very funny that I thought would never happen. What's happened? Obama has come out in support of every one of them. But it's still quite humorous. It's one of the books that you can read and laugh and then cry because you know it's really happening. It was published a year ago. Matter of fact, in March. The publisher had it for about a year before that. He was waiting to see what happened in the election, I think. So when Obama won, he told me, he says, hey, I want you to Obama-ize this book. So I didn't really Obama-ize it very much. I'm working on one right now that is Obamanomics. But anyhow, the price was $18.95. We have a special tea party price of $16.95. And that beautiful lady back there under the tree at the round table, and so my wife, see, I know how to talk about her. But she has some back there. Drop by and take a look at it. I've had very good reports from people who have read it. And if you don't have a Constitution, you should have one. Because when you might see your congressman, you can hand it to him and say, hey, read this sucker, will you? But I'm throwing in a Constitution with every book that we sell. If you just want a Constitution, I paid $1 each for these things, so I'll let you have one for $1. No profit to myself. But I'd like to see you back there. You can take a look through the book, and there are some funny things, some sayings on it. One that I came up and started saying this while. The leading cause of mental illness in this country today is being elected to Congress. Because they are all nuts up there. And we got to get rid of those guys, and we have the opportunity in November. So everybody go out and vote for somebody that ain't there now. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And thank you for the opportunity, Jim.
My pleasure. Thank you for the levity. You know, we've got a real battle coming up in this state and with this governor's race. After we go through our primaries and we choose our conservative candidate, I think there's going to be an all-out battle with the Democrats and Arturo Davis. So I'm hoping that nobody has any hard feelings when their candidate doesn't win the primary and goes libertarian on us and stays home in November, because we cannot afford to let this state go the other direction. So regardless how that primary comes out, that winner is our candidate, and we'll work for him, right?
Right.
Thank you. Our next speaker comes from Gulf Shores by way of Mobile, where he hosted a conservative talk show for a number of years on 710 AM radio. And from what I hear, he might have been one of the most intellectual properties that station's ever had. But now... But anyway, this is Robert Gardner, and he's a great conservative commentator, and he's got some thoughts he wants to share.
It's been more than a decade since I've done any public speaking.